Welcome, everybody, to Leica Captivate web series, session number 5. This episode will focus on the Measure to Align and Stake to Align apps. My name is Brad Beeler, and I work for MTS in our Wappingers Falls, New York office. I'll be joined by Pierre Labbe, Director of Technical Support at Leica Geosystems. Quickly, the difference, but we're going to be covering two apps, but they're bundled together. The difference between the two apps is this: the Stake to Align app is a layout tool used to guide the user to a specific design position, station and offset, relative to align. The Measure to Align tool is a reporting tool that computes and displays the station offset of your current position relative to align. So one of them tells you how to get to a point on the line. The other one tells you where you are with respect to a line. But Pierre will go deeper into this, but that's the basics of it. In our last session, we covered point staking, but sometimes your design data may contain linear objects, such as lines or arcs that need to be marked out. The Leica Captivate Measure and Stake to Line apps both provide flexible and efficient ways to perform these staking tasks. In both apps, you can build simple lines using points, or you can select more complicated lines or arcs or polygons or alignments from imported IFC, DXF, DWG, or other CAD files. But we're going to go over all this in the upcoming webinar. So let's get started with session number 5, Measure and Stake to Align. Pierre, you can take it away from here.
Perfect. I'll share my screen. You should see my screen now.
Yep.
Perfect. Good. So good afternoon, everyone. Let me just move. Okay. So like Brad mentioned, we'll go over the Measure to Align and Stake to Align, and probably many of you have already used it. But there's a lot of hidden functionality that hopefully you'll learn during this session. So first, you just so here we go. So here, so I'll show you briefly within Captivate the difference between the Measure and Stake to Align, but I think Brad gave us a good explanation of the difference, but I'll show it to you within Leica Captivate. And the first app I'm going to go in will be the Measure to Align. And we'll look at, first of all, there's multiple options how we can measure to align. There's a line option, a line with slope, a segment with slope, quick line. I'll explain briefly all of them. We won't go to all of them during this short webinar today, but I'll give a brief explanation. We'll talk about how to select a line and how to review it in a 3D viewer, how we can reverse a line, how we can edit a line to make a start stationing if we want to do station and offset. We'll look at how we can shift a line, and then we'll look at the settings, of course, like any applications within Captivate. Once you're in an application, you can always hit the function F1 to access the settings of the app that you're in. So we'll look at the Measure to Align settings. And then we'll go in Stake to Align, and again we'll review the option also how we can use a Stake to Align. The same option are available: line with slope, segment with slope, and quick line. But there's two new options. There's a grid option and a quick arc. So we'll look at those different options. Again, we'll talk about the line selection, the 3D viewer, and the settings. There's a couple additional settings related to stakeout layout that we're going to look within the Stake to Align. So let's get into the app. So I'm within Leica Captivate right now. Just for your information, some of you, if you did not updated your Captivate in your controller to version 10, the look is different. What you're looking at right now, it's the new layout using Leica Captivate version 10. So that's what you should see in your controller CS20 or on tablet CS30, CC180 if you install Leica Captivate version 10. So, but keep in mind, I got this version here. You can always go to settings, look at your system settings, and under the software startup, there's an option if you want to use a legacy home screen. So, but it's only the main screen where you see your job, the list of all your job, where you see your app. This is way more convenient here to see like up to 9 apps on the CS20 at once that you can pick from to access, so you don't have to scroll through. And same thing for the job, and all the settings are listed there. So I think they did a pretty good job with that new layout to make it more user-friendly and to quickly access some functionality. So I have a job ready to be used. I did my instrument setup right now, so I'm ready to go and use some data. So I'm going to use that MTS Web 5 job. That's the one that is selected right now. So I'll go to my app, and my 3D viewer will show you, we got some lines in it. It's just for your information, I got a closed line and I got one line in the middle and multiple points. So that's what I'm going to use today. And I got additional files if we have time to go through it. So I won't have to do my instrument setup. I can go right into measure to line or stake to line. The first thing I want to clarify is just briefly the difference between the two, and then I'll focus on measure to line. Like Brad mentioned earlier, measure to line, it's to tell you where you are anytime along a line, compared to stake to line where you can specify where you want to be guided. And if I go in measure to line, again, the workflow in it is like you can choose some design data. You can select your method, and I'll come back slowly after. You select your line, and I'm ready to use it. So it's like a 4-step process to go in measure to line to know your location in relation to a line at any time. So I'll go back to the main page. But if I compare to stake to line, same workflow. I can use design data. I can choose the method I want to use. I can select the line I want to use, but then there's an additional page prior to go in the map view and start using the line. You need to define, since it's a stakeout app, you need to define where you want to go along the line. So you get that last page prior to go to the map view where you define which station along the line, which offset, height offset, and if you want to use or not a station increment. So that's the main difference between measure and stake to line, and we'll go into both of them. So, but if we go in the measure to line to start with, the first page I'm seeing here, and I mentioned that in a previous webinar, it's asking me design data. It's asking me the data that I want to use within measure to line. Is it into the points and line? Are they into a different job than my current job? Like, remember, the job I'm using right now, it's MTS Web 5, and I have points and lines in it, and that's the data I want to use is within that job. But when you go in measure to line or stake to line, you might be prompted to possibly select data from a different job to be used. So this is the point and line. And also, if I would like for my elevation with my line that I'm going to measure in reference to, if I have a DTM model to get my cut field, I could select that DTM from here and I could use it in the field. One last comment about the design data. For many of you, when you go into measure to line, you might jump right to the task page and skip that design data. So there's one setting that can be changed to always be prompt to view the design data and make sure that the data you're going to use is the data within your working job or within a selected job. So being able to review the design data, it helps you to make sure that the data that you'll use, it's not going to be taken from a different job. It's going to come from your working job. And to be prompt to select to view the design data, if I go back to my main menu and I go back under my job, and again, that settings, it's been there forever in Captivate, you need to go into design data. So in the old display, old layout, it's that first job on the left side of the carousel. It says tap here to choose design data. And in the new layout, the design is just right there. And here, the design data, you can pick different type of design data. Within the design data page, function, settings, there's one settings, and it's to allow us to choose design data when starting app that use design data. Personally, I like that box to be checked all the time. It helped me to ensure that the data I'm going to use, it's coming from the proper job. It minimizes confusion. So for me, that should always be checked. So that's just a side note I wanted to mention here. So I'm going back and measure to line. In our case, we're not going to use any design data or DTM, we're going to use, we will use design data, but the data is within our working job, so I don't need to change anything in here. Next, which method do we want to use? in measure to align, there's 5 methods. Of course, the first one and the most popular one is align. So you will need to select a line, and the line need to exist in your job, because line will ask you to pick the line on the map and use that line. If you only have points and you'd like to use a line created between those points, but if you don't have a line in your job, but then you will have to pick quick line. Quick line, that's what it does. It creates a temporary line between 2 points, and then you can use, you will know your position in relation to that temporary line, but that line won't exist in your job, so won't populate your job. So that's why we have quick line right there. And one last thing about line, if you have multiple points and you would like to create a line with them so you can use it, a couple of ways to do that. You can press OK, and then the next page is to choose your line. You could choose your line from the 3D viewer, or there's a tool right there to create a new line, and then you can select a line from 2 points, an arc, a line with point bearing distance, and a grade. So you got a couple of different options here to also create a line, not only from 2 points, but you can also create a line from a point using bearing distance and grade, or you can create arc. And if you do the create, if you use the create, it's going to create that line. That line will be within your job and will be usable. So back to the different options. So we've seen line and quick line. The line with slope. Again, it's not a slope along the line, it's a side slope. So like you see again on the graph, I think it's pretty easy to understand. If you would like to do a 2-to-1 slope on the right side of your line, so you can define an offset. You want the slope to start 5 feet offset to the line, and you want a cut 2-to-1 slope or a fill 2-to-1 slope. And once you define those settings where you want the slope to begin at which offset, and you define the slope, ratio or slope percentage, but then you can just start staking a slope. So, or measuring in relation. I say staking here, I mean measure to line. So you can measure that slope in relation to the line. Segment, it's a line with multiple segment. So like you can see on the graphic, if you have a polyline with multiple segment, the segment method will allow you to isolate one specific segment and use that segment only. So it will ignore the beginning of the line and the end of the line, and the focus will be, you'll see your distance and offset in relation to that specific selected segment. So, and segment with slope, same thing. Again, you can measure and you can create a slope and measure to a slope by using a segment. So you can pick the segment you want to define your slope with the offset, and then to define the slope ratio and just measure to that slope in relation to a segment. So those are 5 methods. We'll see the same method. I won't go over them into the stake to align, but we'll see the same one plus 2 additional one. But to keep going with our workflow here, I'll use line to keep it simple. And my next step now, once I selected my method, how do I want to use measure to line? Then I need to select my line. So a couple of options in here. You can use the 3D viewer, and let's say I'll pick that line. So you can pick that line here. It's a center line or any line from your job. If it was a DXF file, you would be able to pick a line from a DXF and import that line within your job. We saw that also in a previous webinar. Working with DXF, we can attach a DXF file as a reference file. And if we need to use elements from the DXF, we can simply highlight it from the screen and import that element within our working job so it can be used. But here I can select a line like graphically. Since I'm in the graphic also view, you always see the direction of the line. So you can reverse. If you want your line, the 0, the beginning of your line, you want it to be on 101 going down, then you can reverse the line. That could be useful with working with line from a drawing, a DXF. Many times the lines were not drawn in the direction we would like to get the distance and the offset. So we can reverse the line from here. And here we can create a line like we saw earlier. So, and then under line, you can pick the line, of course, from a drop-down list if you know the name of the line. And again, from the 3D viewer. So again, I'm still into my line selection. So I got my line selected. It's a straight. I got the length, start station 0, and my height. How do you want to manage elevation along that line? From line, if you have a 3D line and there's a slope in it and you want to be able to get the cut fill in relation to the slope of your line, you can pick from line. We have option to use user enter, so you'll be prompted to enter the elevation that you want to hold along the line. It's a fixed elevation. Or you can pick the start point of the line, so it will hold the elevation at the beginning of the line, and that will be the elevation that will be used all along the line for the cut and fill. But here for height, the default settings, it's from the line, and most of the time that's what we want to use. Since I'm here, it says start station. There's a stationing. You might not see stationing by default. If you would like to use the terminology station within measure to line or stake to line, you'll need to go, it's going to be, I'll come back to the settings, but if I go to function and settings, so those are the settings in measure to line, use station terminology. So it's checked right now. If I don't check it, I don't see stationing anymore, and I won't see any stationing. I'll get my distance along the line and my offset, but it won't display me using the station terminology. So if it's something you want to see, it's a settings that you just need to turn on, and then you see stationing. One last thing about the start station. Many times working with line, the default stationing will always be 0. If you want to exit that start stationing to use something different, so you need to go back to your list of line, because that all the information we see listed underneath the line name, it's part of that line CL1. So if I click on that CL1 line, now I see a list of lines, and if I highlight the line I would like to review, and if I pick exit to exit that line, then you can change the start stationing to whatever you want to start with, and it will update the stationing. So in the stationing format, I'm looking at it right now. It's not the proper stationing format for working in feet. It's more for meters, but that can be easily changed into the global settings of Captivate. So I'll put my stationing back to 0. I won't change it. So right there under define line, we saw that we can pick line from the map. We can reverse the direction. I'm sorry. We can define how we want to work with height along the line. We can exit a line station, start station. And finally, if you look at that page, the only option we've not done anything with yet, it's shift. If you want to take that line and you would like to shift the entire line, you can use shift. Then you can apply a shift to the line and shift that line horizontally. Like I want that line to be 10 feet to the right, so it's a positive 10 feet. And I'd like the elevation to be, I want to go down 1 foot. So now I'm taking the original line and I'm moving that line to the right 10 feet, and I'm going down 1 foot for the elevation. And now that will become my reference line, and all my station and offset now will be in relation to that shifted line. So at any time, you can take that entire line. You can always go anywhere with using some offset value. But if you want to shift that line, you have the option here under shift. I'm not going to shift anything. I'll press OK. But that's what shift is for right there. It's to shift your entire line horizontally and vertically. So I think we've gone over everything into that define line. I go OK on it. I'm on my map view. If I simply take a distance right now, and I'm right there, it's telling me I'm right at the beginning of my station, and I'm offset 5.2 feet. Let me just quickly take another distance. There we go. So I'm on my, you can see it on the map. I'm just measuring in the room I'm in right now, but I'm 5 centimeter offset. And if I change my measurement to be continuous mode, so I'm working along the line right now, and you can see your live station and offset and height difference on the left side. Again, it's not a layout, it's not stake to line, so we don't have the option to exit where we want to go. It's giving us live information where we are along the selected line, and it's all there under that measure page. So I'll just punch a point number, let's say 1,000, and I'm just going to measure a point right there. So I got 1 point measure just as an example. Okay. Then what else do we have in this view? Of course, you can always change the different views, to be in a 3D view if you want. All depend what type of data you're working with. We cover most of the map view in a previous webinar. Here in the measure to line. So that was that measure page, the default page we see when we get in measure to line. There's another very popular page, and it's that green circle with an eye in it. It's for the info page. This page is very popular because you can customize what you see underneath based on your needs. So if you're in the field and you're using measure to line or stake to line, you'll see it later, and you're looking to view some specific information that you don't see in that initial page, you should go to the info page. You should see what's available to be displayed. And if the information you're looking for is not there, you can customize that page. So if you go function, we want to customize something within an app, most of the time it's under the settings. So function settings. And if I go to the info page, you can customize what you want to view. You got 16 line of information. It's a lot. You should put the most important information on top. So I got the line name. The second line, if I look at it, I think I would like to see station. If you want to work with station, it was showing me distance along a line, but I would prefer to work in station and offset. So I just pick station there, and now it will say station instead of distance along the line offset, and my cut field. So that's probably the three most important information that you always want to see. But if you want to see something else, you can always customize the info page. So that's something important to keep in mind. And of course, there's a page if you want to measure a point and topo and do line work, you always have access. This is the coding page. So you can you can topo and do line work within the measure to line. So I'll stick to the info page here, and let's go into the additional settings here. I do function and I go to settings. So settings under the general, there's the height, there's an info, TS specific, and report sheet. Under general, we saw the use station terminology earlier. If you want to use that terminology, check the box. Some of those settings are there right now, but they will only be available in the stake to align. So like allow entering, distance, and offset while staking. We'll see that same settings. It's not used in measure to line, but those two apps, they share similar settings. So that's why we see it here, but it's not applicable within the measure to line. Do not write stakeout value to annotation field. But what that does, do not write stakeout value to annotation field. If this is not checked, remember I just stored 1 point earlier. I think it was not sure which one, but it was underneath. If I pick my job and I go to my line, not my line, sorry, my point, I just measure 0.1000 earlier. If I edit that point, and this is the coordinate of that point, but there's an annotation, and see here, by default, there's a settings if you don't want that to happen, but by default, when you use measure to line or stake to line and measure a point, we will fill the annotation one field with the actual station, the actual offset, right, left, and the actual cut or fill. It's there. It populates it automatically. So, and that's why we have that settings. If you don't want that to happen, you check that box, do not write. If you don't check it, it will populate the annotation field. So that field can be exported later, and you have a quick way to review your point with their station and offset. View the result page after staking a point. It's for stakeout. We'll look at that later. Automatically assign design point to code. Same thing. This is for stakeout. So we'll review those in stakeout. So half of them it's related to stakeout, so they are not applicable in measure to line. Height, allow editing height, same thing. Stake, we'll look at that in the stake to line. Info page, we just saw that. So it's probably one of the most important settings to know it's there. And one comment about that page. if you look at all the possible variables, there's a lot of variable in it. The line name, design height, there's 3D, distance to start point, distance to 3D chain age point, height difference to 3D chain age. Sometimes some of those variables here, it might not be obvious to understand exactly what they are. So the best place, if you want to know more about all the variables and what they are in reality, I just put the Leica Captivate technical reference manual. You can find on my Word. It's a huge document. There's more than 1,000 pages, but there's in the measure and stake to line section, there's some graphic in it that explain all of the possible variable that you can see. And so that can really help you to understand some of the variable that you might not be sure, of the information that it will provide you. So the document here, the technical reference manual, at least for the info page, can give you pretty good information. Okay. So settings, if I go back there, info page, TS specific settings, again, for total station, GNSS, when you use GNSS, that page is not there. Use two-phase measurement. If you always want to measure two-phase measurement, you check the box. If you want the instrument to tone it automatically to the point being stake, you can check that box. In a robotic mode, probably not, but if it's a two-man, you do a two-man stakeout, it could be useful sometime. And do not update stakeout value between distance measurements. So when you take a shot, and you move and you're not taking distance, you don't want the distance to update your stakeout value in the field, but this is all related to stakeout. So, and report, if you want Captivate to generate a report as you go, you can check the box, but most of the time, I don't really know anyone that used that report sheet settings. We got many other ways to get a cut sheet. So I'm not going to do anything with this one. So settings, there's a few to measure to line here, and there's more that apply to the stake to line. And we'll review a couple of them in stake to line. And finally, if I do function here, we saw the settings and we can look under tools. There's not much tools in measure to line compared to other application. We can check the backside or just use individual point ID. But that's about it for the different tools. And that cover measure to line. One good thing also, once you're in the map, you can, if I do a clear all, if I'm currently staking out that CL1. If I pick that other line, the blue line, and I click a few seconds on the screen, I can set that line to be used. So now I'm going to measure to a different line. It says BLG1 and my station and offset were updated. So that's just one thing. Right from the map view, if you want to jump from one line to another, you don't have to go back one screen to select the line. You can just do it right from the map. You highlight the line you would like to use, press a few seconds in an open spot, and set as line to use. So now you can switch line right from the map view. Okay. I'll escape back. So just to go now in stake to line, I don't want to use any design data. I'm just going to use the data within my working job. I'll stick to line right now, and then I can come back and maybe, depending on the time, use a few other one, but line is the most popular one. Here, again, up to this point, we have all of same information, so I won't spend too much time. I will pick that CL again to start with. You can reverse the line. So we have all of the same option in that define line to define the line we want to use. So I'll use that line and I use the height from the selected line. So I'll do OK. And here it's going to be, that's where it's different now. Because I'm in stake to line, it's asking me where do I want to go. And all the time, by default, you will be guided to the beginning of the line. So you'll always see zeros all the time. And if you leave those zero there, you will be guided to the beginning of the line. So all the delta distance, delta offset, delta height, it's all in relation to the beginning of the line. So we'll leave it there. And then finally, would you like to use a station increment? So we're going to stake out now in relation to a line. and let's say we want to stake out every 25 feet, we could here, I'll do 5 feet in my case, I'm in a small area, but you can put your station increment. You can say increment after storing. Every time you'll store a point, it will increase, or you don't want the increment to do with the stationing to do anything or decrease, I'll put increase. And if you're using line with curve in it, you could use a different increment while on curve. So I don't have curve in mind, I won't do anything with it, but you got those options here. So this is unique to stake to a line, and you specify where you want to go, and you specify the station increment. So then I'll press OK. And like I told you, it's guiding me. You see that there's a target now, like a stakeout app. So I'm at the beginning of the line. If I do station plus here, it's guiding me 5 feet further. So that's my 5 feet increment, or back to the beginning. And then if I take a distance, I will be guided live now with the arrow to the beginning of my line. So I'm quickly going to go there, and I should be pretty close to it, so that I'm within my tolerance, and I'm going to store a point. So I store a point, and like you can see, it's giving me a stakeout page result that I can review and leave information in the field. So you can review that information, and then when you're done with it, you press OK. And now I'm back, and you saw it incremented by itself. So that page that we just saw after I store the point, I do function, settings, view result page after staking a point. That's the reason is because this box is checked. Every time I'll store a point and stake to line, it will pop up and show me the result of what I just staked, so I can leave information in the field. Okay. So while I'm here, again, the only difference in this page, compared to measure to line, first of all, you got the guidance arrow to guide you. And on the left side, you see station, you see offset, you see target height, but you see those fields. It says 5. If I want to go at station 7.5, so now it's going to go 7.5. So those fields right there are live. I can exit them. The reason is I have a specific settings for that function, settings, allow entering distance and offset while staking. If I uncheck that box, I'm not able here to modify my stake, station, and offset. So it's a settings, and I find it useful to be able to do that. While I'm in settings, let's just have a quick look at them. We saw the stationing, allow, do not write value, the view the result page. So those, we've seen them in the measure to line app, but we just saw like 2 of those settings that apply to stake to a line. Graphic, it's a new page. We don't have the graphic into the measure to line, but here, how do you want to be guided? So help me navigate, use line being stake. It makes sense if you're using a GNSS or a robotic total station, and the navigational arrow in and out, right or left, that's the most common one. You can use direction and distance, but in and out, right or left, working with the line makes a lot of sense. And then, do you want to get a bullseye when you get within 1.5 feet? It's checked, so you saw the bullseye earlier. So this is typical settings that we get into all of our stakeout application. Of course, since it's stakeout, you can set some quality control. Do you want some check to be done when you're staking out a position? If you're within 600 in this case in position and height of the design position, you won't be prompt. But if you're outside, you will be prompt that you exceed, and you'll be prompt to if you want to store or not. So here, if you want check to be done in the field to ensure that all the stakeout point will be within some tolerance, you can use the quality control settings. Height, do you want to be able to exit the height? So at any time, if you want to override the actual design elevation of the line to manually enter anything else. That tools here will allow you to edit the height live. So I will leave it unchecked now, but you have the option to edit the height at any time. Design, we're staking out here a line. The line is our design, and the line might have some point of interest, like the beginning of a curve, the end of a curve, tangent point. So here you can select to be prompt to stop every time you get one of those point of interest. So I'll leave it there. I'll show you how it works. Sometimes those could be useful. Of course, you got the info page that you can also customize the way you want. You got some TS specific settings like we saw for the measure within the measure to line. And we got the report sheet that I don't use personally. So more settings, of course, we're into a stakeout application. So back here, so I'm staking out. I stake out the beginning of the line. Now it increment by 5 feet. Here again, station where you want to go, offset. The height is not editable right here, but we know there's a settings we can change if we want to change it. So if I would like to stake that 5 feet, but I would like to be, let's say now I want to get a 5 feet offset. Now we can see the target. You know, we're staking out a point, but the point has been defined with station and offset. So I'll just try to get there roughly. Let's say I'm close enough. I'll store the point. Back to main view. I'll go out of it. So, and I'm right there. Okay. So I'll just remove that offset back to 0 here. I can do just a second in here, 5 feet, enter. Here we go. Okay, so target, station, offset, I think it's all good. We got the info page. We can do some line work and coding, so nothing really different here. If I pick a different line and set as line to use, so, and I'll put myself to go right at the beginning of the line. And now I'm at the beginning of the line. And if I do my one thing here, I got, there's some corner in it, but if I do my station plus and I'm going every 5 feet, there's one thing I just want you to notice here. I'm doing 5 feet. I'm doing the next one, and it stop at the corner because of my design settings to stop at point of interest. And then when I do station plus, it's going to do the rest of the 5 feet. So that's what it's doing. So station plus, it will stop at my different point of interest, and it does my 5 feet. So when you get some warning at the same time. So it will stop at point of interest along a polyline if you have that settings to selected within the stake to line. And then if I do a function and we got tools, again, we got stakeout tool. There's not a ton of tools. Turn 3D, turn 2D, check by site, export cut sheet. If I go to export cut sheet, we can cut sheet definition. You can customize. By default, you don't have any there, but you can always make a new one at any time, and then you just give it a name. You can change your delimiter, and then you will just customize every single column. You got up to 32 columns, and you simply pick what you want to be exported in each of those columns, and that can make a CSV file that you can easily read in Excel, but you can customize like the design information, you got the stake information, the cut fill, and you go down the list and you customize your cut sheet. So it's there and can be used at any time to get a cut sheet from what you've done in the field. If I go back one page and where, the page where you can define, the station offset and the use increment, there's one thing here hidden under the function key, and it's a report. And the report, it's giving you points that have been stored in relation to the selected line. So if I go back and I pick my line CL report, so I measure 1 point using that line CL, so I can review everything that I've done in relation to a line. I got the station, the offset, the cut fill, the height measure, the design height. So it will all be listed there as soon as you store points. So as an example, we saw that for that building line, there's nothing. So I did not store any point using building. I'll do it now. I'm going to go at the beginning of that line. And let's say I want to go at station 25. And I'll make an offset to the left, so a -5 offset. And then I'm going to hit distance. And I'm going to roughly try to get to that. It's really tough here on the ceiling. I will just assume I'm close enough. I'll just measure that point, and I'm outside of my tolerance. That's fine. I get my result page. I'm fine with it. I can leave information in the field. So I just store a point and in relation to that building line. So if I escape one screen now and I go function report, now I get that point. If I do more, you'll see the actual point ID. But here, again, if you are using a line in either if you do it in measure to line or in stake to line, you can always get to that report page and see all the points you measure and get the station and offset. And from here, while you see it, you could save what you see in a CSV file or an XML file. That's another way to get a cut sheet from that report page within stake to line. So, okay. Remove my increment, go back into the line. Function, we saw the settings, we saw the tool, we saw the cut sheet. So I don't think, I don't know, Brad, do you think about something I might have forget? You know, this is, I've been over the basic stuff, you know, all the settings, you know, the tools, you know, the hidden functionality, like the report, line selection, you know, reversing a line, the stationing stuff. I have not done anything with the XF or IFC file in this, but the concept is all the same. It's just like using the XF or IFC file. It's just like you select your line or your element from an IFC and you just import it within your job to use it exactly like I've done here with those lines.
Yeah, exactly right. And actually, in a previous episode, I think it might have been even one, we talked about importing drawing files, DXF, DWGs, and what can be done with that. So, yeah, so you're right, an alignment in either a roading application or even staking rail or tunnel, it's all the same. You're right.
Yes. So I'll escape to the main menu. So I'm back to the main menu. I think I've covered what I had to cover. So
yes, yep, you followed the outline we came up with exactly right. So thank you very much, and thanks everyone for attending. I'll share my screen here again just to say that this webinar and all of the previous ones will be are on our YouTube page. This one will be probably in a few days. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or support Pierre's group, or to contact your local MTS representative wherever you may be. And we'll do this again in about another month or so. So thanks everyone for coming, and thank you, Pierre. Wonderful job as always, and we'll see you again in about a month or so.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.